Hello and welcome everyone. Coach Ryan and Coach Danielle here with one of our 12-week participants, Miss Cathy Moffit. Cathy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today and telling us your story on the in this program. We're coming up on week number 12 for you, and you've had some unbelievable success here. Almost down 20 full pounds. So congratulations to you. We're very, very excited for you. Cathy, will you tell the masses a little bit more about you, who you are, your occupation, family life, all that type of stuff, and also explain to them what you were doing before you did this and what you were struggling with before you did this program?
First I want to say thank you, because it was really a great program and it was exactly what I needed at this point. I'm Cathy Moffit. I'm a health and phys ed teacher at Charlestown Elementary School, and I have a busy life. Like everybody else, I have meetings and I'm involved with different associations. So I tend to be out quite a bit, and I struggled with food that way. It was easier not to eat a lot of times than to actually eat. I have a boyfriend who is very supportive of everything that I do. He eats anything I put in front of him, which sometimes is a good thing and sometimes not. And he is very much a processed food person. So that was kind of it was an easy fix, an easy go-to for a lot of meals, which I think was one of my downfalls. Not downfall, but it was a struggle that was real for me. One of the things that got me to this program, I actually had a doctor's appointment and my cholesterol was super high and they wanted to put me on medication. And I had just had a conversation with you about the program, and I wanted to do this before I wanted any meds. And I wanted to see if I could kind of fix it on my own. That to me was much more important than the weight loss. But obviously the weight loss is just a kind of phenomenal bonus. And dropping pant sizes is always a good thing. But I think, and I have tried other things before. I've done the 21-day fix. I've done Weight Watchers and have had success on them, but it's never sustainable, because it's such so regimented. And with this program, it really, you hate to say easy, because you don't want somebody to think that oh, it was easy. But it really was. It was making little changes that kind of happened. And 12 weeks is kind of a perfect amount of time, because the changes happen gradually enough that you almost don't realize that they're happening. And so I have found it, like I said, hate to use the word easy, but they have been, I feel like, sustainable changes for myself.
Yeah. And I think that's why we always like to say that, like, what we're learning here, it's simple, right? It's simple stuff. So that's the thing. I mean, putting them into your life is easy, because we're doing things slowly, one at a time, one habit at a time. So,
And a lot of times people who are thinking about making these changes, they overwhelm themselves in the thought process of what they think needs to be done. But in reality, it's probably stuff that they know they should what they already know they should be doing. And for accountability reasons, for structure reasons, they don't have that guidance. And therefore it becomes too overwhelming, or an overhaul of their life. And it really doesn't need to be. Can you talk a little bit more about how the accountability helped you to create these sustainable habits on a daily basis? Because it was real-time daily coaching for you.
Sure. And I will say that, you were talking about how people kind of get in that mindset. This time of year, I have to say I was very hesitant to start when we did, because it was Halloween, it was Thanksgiving, it was, and that mentality of, well, I'll start in the new year, and then it becomes like a New Year's resolution, and we know how those go. So having that accountability and that piece, and I will say it's the taking the pictures for me was huge. That having that food diary where it wasn't writing down the food and how much you ate of everything, but that accountability piece of knowing that you guys were looking at the food and that I could go back and look at the food and see what was happening, is for me was a very huge factor. It was knowing that somebody else was looking at it, having and keeping you accountable, and kind of pointing out where you were, where I was not noticing different things, like, wow, there's a lot of sugar in that, or one of my big things was like the artificial hot chocolate, and I was like, well, it's sugar free, so like it's all good, but just keeping your mind on those kind of things. And I will say the other piece, and I think one of the eye openers for me was probably, early on, week 1 or 2, and one of you were like, hey, it's 3:00 and you haven't eaten since that pancake this morning. And it's like, oh, like, you don't always realize. And so like to have somebody else pointing out that, like, that pancake was not enough for the day. And I liked that. I needed that, because that for me was kind of how I was living. It was like, well, I would eat something in the morning and then just go, and then come home and probably grab something less than, nutritionally sound at one point. So having that constant feedback and that constant reminder that this is what you should be doing was very helpful.
Yeah. And we see this so much when it comes to individuals, and how, like you said, you didn't even know that it was something you were doing, because it's a habit that you created, and it's not one that's going to lead you to the changes that you want, but it was something that you were doing, right? And all we're doing is now, and this is why I think a lot of people, including yourself, think it's simple or easy. Now we're just holding you accountable. We're coaching you daily to start creating new habits, and ones that are sustainable, that are going to be geared towards helping you lose weight and obviously improve your health. When before, we were practicing things that probably wasn't benefiting us to get to those things, and then they become a part of who we are, so we don't really think about it, right? And that's how this program is. Little by little, you're simply adding or adjusting or making things work best for you. And the more you do that on a daily and weekly basis over a 12-week time period, it becomes a part of who you are. And now it's sustainable. And that's where you take those things, the coaching and the accountability on a daily basis, to then transfer it for the rest of your life. And that's what's so important about this program and how it works. And that's why it does feel simplistic in some ways, or easier in some ways, because it's not stuff that you probably don't already know. It's just stuff that you're not doing, and we're keeping you accountable to that and coaching you so that you are working at a level that it's that for what you're willing to do, because everybody's different, right? And that's why this program is so personalized. Also, it has a group aspect and a support aspect with the coaching calls that really helps to bring everybody together. Can you talk a little bit about the personalization in the group coaching that has benefited you?
I love the group coaching. I like the Zoom calls, like every night. They're not every night.
Every night.
Every night.
We have a life too.
It's not that personalized. No, but each week it is, it is that check-in. It is, to hear the good things that are happening and to see the progress that everybody is making, and to hear where the struggles are, because a lot of times, you might not think to send it in a text or, online and just do it between you and the coaches, but to hear somebody else asking the question, be like, oh, I was thinking about that. And so you just a lot of information, and struggles that you may not have picked up on as like even an actual struggle, but like, oh, hey, you know what, I've been doing that too. And so to hear what other people have been going through, and how the different progress, I will say there are times where you're like, oh, well, at least that's not happening to me. You know what I mean? Like, and you get that pump up, and you also get that camaraderie where, where you can see the positive things that are happening, and where the things that what everybody might be struggling with. So that part I think is awesome. And it can be entirely personalized, because it is, when you go on one of those group calls, everyone is coming from a different place. Everyone has, and not that everyone's situation, but just from the comments and the things that people say, you can tell that everyone has different reasons for being here, have different backgrounds of what got them to this place, and everyone is working at their own speed to get to wherever it is they're going to go. But yet we all have that commonality of what we're learning and how we're getting there. So I've very much enjoyed enjoyed the Zoom calls. I love the little posts every day, and I'm not a huge phone person. There are a lot of days where I don't even have my phone with me, so it's kind of like, oh, like somebody take a picture of this and text it to me with the food and things. But it is, like I like coming back at night and looking at all the different things that you've posted on, so if you're not on Facebook, you still are getting all of that information and the different, I don't know what you call them. They're not emails, but the little drops that you put into the
resources and tips,
yeah,
and, motivational things, because we all need that, right? On a daily basis, we need those little extra checks.
We all need that. And just hearing what everybody else is doing and the questions that they're asking, like I said, is very helpful. And there are people who, and I'm probably one of them, well, that's a stupid question, I'm not going to ask that. So I'm always grateful when somebody else does, and it's like, oh, it wasn't a stupid question, like somebody else needed that too. So it is, and by the end of 12 weeks, I think everybody, or at least I felt very comfortable. Well, I don't have a problem talking anyway, but I think that that everybody feels comfortable enough to ask the questions and to look for that information and to be able to support each other. So I like the coaching calls. I like the videos and things too. It is funny going through the different weeks and watching the videos and the little lessons. There's some that are more important, not important, but important. I think
it's
that's the personalized thing,
right?
Is there are some that you are like, oh my God, this is spot on. This I could have used this week too, and there are others that are kind of like, oh, you go through a little bit quicker, but everyone's different, and I'm sure everyone feels that way about one or the other. And I'm sure we're not all of the same. I'm sure that everybody has ones that they're like, I don't really need that, but they're always good to listen to. They're always good information, and they're things that just kind of make you like, oh, like that's why. So I and I've gone back and I've watched some of the earlier ones again, because I think they're information that we just kind of continuously need and need reminders of.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like the information that you guys are getting here and then the habits you're creating, it's always something you can go back to. That worked. Let me just get back to the basics. Like that's really what it is. There's so much information out there that I think just confuses us after a while, that we need to go through the clutter.
Confuses us.
And it's really is simple. What we need to do is simple. There's not a lot. So I love that you said that, because you can always go back and just go back to the basics and, know it worked. And it will be sustainable.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that even if it is not something that you feel like you don't need, I think that there is a takeaway from every single one.
Mm-hmm.
There's some piece of it that is relatable to everybody and everybody's life. I think that there's always the only one I can think of that I even remotely felt that way about was the alcohol one. And that's just because I don't drink very much. So it's like, but there are always there's information in there that you always take away from, and there are other ones like the imposter one, the imposter syndrome. Like there are just so many things that are pertinent to throughout your life, not just the food thing. And I think that being a well-rounded, healthy person, this just encompasses it all.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, because I so much of habit forming changes come from, up here. And that is based on not just what you're putting in your body or how much sleep you get or the physical activity you do. There's so many reasons why people do things and they don't do things. And a lot of it has to do with other areas of their life, whether it be personal relationship, family, work, personal struggles, or personal achievements, so the list goes on and on and on. And that's why, when we talk about this program, we cover all areas of wellness, health, fitness, so that, you're as well-rounded and balanced as possible with making these simplistic changes based on what you're willing to do. Last question for me, unless you have another one. And this is kind of a two-pronged question. Did you ever feel as if you were deprived, or did you feel being in this program, or did you feel it was a complete overhaul to your life to where it was like, okay, now I got to start from square one?
I never felt like I was starting from square one. I think I was at the point where there were times where I was like, am I making enough changes? And I look at the success that I've had. So I clearly made good choices, and I feel like I did make, well, a lot of the right choices. But I love my sweets, and I still have, I still have sweets on occasion. And I never felt like I was missing anything. I think the biggest thing was, and we've talked about this on numerous occasions, it's what do you add in? It's not what you're taking away, but what do you add in? And I think that that's huge. Having that mentality of, I'm adding more water, I'm adding more vegetables, I'm adding more whole foods. It is what are you adding? What can you add to what you're doing that's going to make it better? And for me, I think that was huge. I'm adding way more food than I ever ate before. And they've just all been positive things. And like I said,
Well, yeah, there's just a bunch of children making a lot of noise. Thanks, kids.
I was
We're worried about your cat jumping on the keyboard. We're worried about our kids jumping.
They probably don't
well,
even
at least they're not on the
clothes
They're not on the keyboard, so that's good.
That's life. That's life.
They're
real.
I love that was a takeaway for you, the adding those. It's one of the first things we want to touch upon, because we shouldn't focus on what we have to take away, because we actually don't have to take anything away, right? Fully. So I
can't think of anything that I've taken.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. The one thing that I have taken away is the artificial
sugar. Yes, and that was one of the first things we covered.
We'd say, if there's anything you're going to take away,
it's going to be that.
Anyways, but
but it really has been about like the adding the things, and I would love to say that I was really good at all of them, but we talk about setting goals and things, and that not eating 3 vegetables. I'm definitely getting 3 servings of vegetables,
yes.
But like making sure that they're happening throughout the day and not just one big clump of them at the end of the day. Right. I'm getting better at that, but that's not an intrinsic habit right now. And the water, I think, is great when it's warm out. The water is a little bit trickier for me as it's getting colder. But it is all about, resetting the goals and just keep working on, because it is just adding things in.
Yep. And this is a lifelong journey for you, right? I mean, this is not something that's going to end. So it's just constantly keeping it in the forefront of your mind that, yes, I need to drink water. You see your water bottle sitting, you try to take at least 1 sip, so. And
it's the same approach how you would approach your career or your relationships or things along those lines. You tweak them, you adjust what works, what doesn't work, and what you're willing to do. And we apply that and we hold you accountable to that, and making sure that you continue on in that direction. And that's really why the concept seems easy or simple, because it's not, like I said, a complete overhaul or something that is foreign to you, because you do it in any other aspect of your life. It's just now applying it to this lifestyle.
I'm just going to do one more throughout. The food journal, I think, I know I didn't bring my water bottle in with me. I was like, oh, where is it?
The pictures, right?
The picture journal, I will say, and I'm not always great at it, because like I said, having the phone with me, but I feel like I've got really good at it. And going back and looking at the different things, and I may have even said this like week 1 when we did that pre-week, and we started taking pictures, just trying to get into the habit and things. Looking back at some of the foods, I think I had leftover pizza one night, and I took a picture, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks terrible. Like, what am I doing? That. It just is funny, like to go back through and see what you were doing and how far you've come. So I think that's I think that's something that I will stick with, like even after this is done, because it is just, I probably won't do everything, but I will try to do most meals and things, because there's so much benefit in going back and being able to see. And I'm not a writer downer person. Like, I'm never going to sit and track everything that I eat. Right. So,
which just isn't necessary anyway. Right. So,
the pictures are great.
Yep.
And you're going to keep doing these because they're habits now, positive habits that you've created.
And those are great to hold yourself accountable too, especially like, hey, I'm not feeling great today. Let me take a look at what I ate. Maybe that's why, it's something that can help.
And in a picture, it speaks volumes as opposed to just writing it down, because like you said, there's a point where you can always easily either lie to yourself, or of course you can just not put something there, or you can say, I'll do it at another time. Picture that's going to be there. It's going to be at the forefront of your mind. You see it. And this will benefit you in terms of if you felt like something needs improvement.
Even on the side, look how beautiful that meal was. Look how colorful it was,
right from my mouth.
Which we love seeing.
Yeah.
So Yep.
So the program for me was just positive all around. And besides, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, I dropped almost 20 pounds. My cholesterol went down 20 points. So like all of the reasons that I started this had, I've met all of my goals and so much more.
Mhm.
So it is, and like I said, for me, hate to use the word easy, but the changes were gradual enough that it never was traumatic.
Stressful. Yeah.
which
Yep.
I think, like, sometimes you go in and with Weight Watchers and things, that weigh in, and then there's really no support the rest of the time. It's kind of your and there's just all that support, and everything has been helpful and manageable. It's just all positive.
It's so
Well,
great
we'd
to hear
love to
that.
hear that. And then,
You know,
Cathy was you were part of our first group ever. So this is the end of our first 12 weeks that we've ever run this program. And I mean, it's been awesome for us. We absolutely love going on this journey with everybody.
if you remember when we first started thinking about this years ago, like how we wanted a program like this to run out. I mean, to be able to hear people like Cathy say this, to me, it's really cool because we've always said to ourselves, okay, well, here's what we don't want the program to be. We want to really gear it towards coaching individuals so that they can make lifelong changes.
And literally showing them how easy it is.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. We really just want to show people it is this easy. It really is.
It is. And I think one of the things, and I don't even remember when this came up in the program, it's you're not eating to be healthy, you're being healthy, or you're not eating to lose weight, you are eating to be healthy.
Yeah.
And
weight is a byproduct, a benefit.
the weight, exactly. And that, for me, that was totally my journey. Was the, I was eating to get healthy. I needed the cholesterol to come down, and everything else were, the weight loss obviously is a bonus, and who doesn't want that? But and over and over again, we talk about, what are you willing to put into it? And I never felt like I was doing anything. The exercise for me always was happening anyway. Like that, I had a pretty good habit of before this. I will say that, like, I've added the weights, and I think that's great.
Mhm.
But everything just kind of fell into place for me, and it has been. I just needed that push and that coaching that for you guys to be there and say, or for somebody to be there and say, okay, good choice. Well, you know what? You did this choice now, so make sure. And that personalization was exactly what I needed.
Awesome.
Well, that's fantastic, Cathy. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes of your day to talk about your journey. We really appreciate it. We look forward to continued work with you in our maintenance program, and we'll be talking to you on the app a little bit later today. Yeah, so we'll be talking to you, and we'll see you on the coaching call tonight. All right.
Yes, you will.
All right. Thank you so much, Cathy. Congratulations.
Thank you.